Winnipeg, étrange destination pour le tourisme.
That's a bit of the quirky humor in universal language, Canada's official selection for Best International Film at this year's Academy Awards. Now, didn't get a nomination, but it's getting a special screening in Hamilton tomorrow. Jacob Tutt from Playhouse Cinema joins us with Hamilton-based filmmaker Terrence Odette, who is doing a Q&A with Universal Languages director. Thanks so much for joining us here, guys.
Pleasure. Thanks for having us.
How does a film get chosen? Like, what qualifications does it have to have?
It's chosen by Academy members. So if you belong to the Academy, based in Hollywood, and that can be anybody from all around the world, whether it's Canadians or there's a lot of Canadians who are Academy members. They do the voting.
But then the submission, how do you decide?
The Canadian submission.
Yeah.
There's a group in Canada, probably critics get together and they decide which film in Canada. That's a foreign language film. They will move forward to and submit to, so every country in the world submits their foreign language film. They used to call it foreign language film, call it international film now. It's submitted to that, and then it goes into a big group, and then it's whittled down, and Universal Language got to shortlisted, so it did make it to the final. That's great. The final part before, yes.
Yeah, that's really, really great. And the screening at the Playhouse tomorrow, you're going to be doing the Q&A.
Yes.
What do you expect from that?
I expect a wonderful conversation. Matthew is just a wonderful, lovely human being, and you can tell that when you watch the film.
Yeah.
So I expect it to be funny and informative, and we have a great, it looks like a great crowd coming out, so it'll be great.
Well, tell me a little bit about the film.
It's a wild one. It's a little absurd. It's a bit absurd. It's very funny as well. So it's set in a reimagined Canada. In Winnipeg, where the two official languages are Farsi and French, so you can imagine where that might go. But centered, it's all about human connection, and it's somewhat autobiographical too for Matthew. So you'll hear stories of his grandmother, or a reference to a story of his grandmother finding a $2 bill frozen in a sidewalk. You see that story referenced. There's lots of
Did she get the $2 bill out?
There's a whole
That's what I want to know.
There's a whole odyssey to find it.
Because it's worth more than $2 these days.
Right, yeah, because they don't exist. It's not like there was just a toonie hanging out there.
That's right, yeah. No, and it's also, the plot is a character living in Montreal decides to move back to Winnipeg to visit his mother who was ailing. And that's the premise of how the story moves. It starts in Montreal and moves to Winnipeg. In the winter, which is an experience. Winterpeg. Yes. Yes. Very much.
Okay, so when we're doing this screening at the Playhouse, when you're moderating the Q&A, anyone can ask whatever they want.
That's right.
I'm assuming. Yes. Now, what kind of questions are you planning on?
Well, for me, I want to ask more about his why he makes these types of films, why he makes this style of filmmaking. That's of interest to me, and I think that's of interest to the audience in general. And I try and stay away from asking other typical questions that I know audience are going to want to ask.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully it gets, I'm sure Matthew, who'll be wonderful, it'll be a fun time. So, yeah.
Winnipeg and Tehran. Tell me about that.
Winnipeg in Tehran?
No, and Tehran.
Meaning, why the connection?
Yeah, why is there connection?
He has a real affection for the Iranian films, especially from the 90s to now, which are Abbas Kiarostami, many of the directors who are making films slyly through the censorship.
Right.
They're able to tell the truth of what's going on in Iran, maybe through the eyes of a child, and that kind of filmmaking. And it's very simple filmmaking in its sense of its production value because of the lack of funds, and it's amazing films. I'm also just as inspired by Iranian filmmaking of that kind. One of the Oscar-nominated films right now is Iranian. True.
Yeah, Seat of a Sacred
Seat of a Sacred Fig, which we've been showing at the Playhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He spent some time in Iran as well, so I think that influenced his lived experience living there. He can speak Farsi, and you see that in the film as well.
So interesting. Well, thank you so much both for joining us here
Pleasure.
today. And I know tomorrow night's going to be a huge success. You can catch it. You just have to get there, and you can get tickets, correct?
Oh, yes.
We've got tickets left.
Still tickets available. Whereabouts?
Playhousecinema.ca, or you can buy them online, or you can come right to
The Playhouse on Sherman Ave. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again, guys.